Okay, we're live here with Bitt3rSteel, and we're just going to hang out and talk about Hearts of Iron 4 and things going on in our life. And yeah, this is my first podcast format. YouTube just turned on podcasts, and I'm going to post it on my YouTube page as a podcast. So me and Bitter, we're here just talking about Google search, and we're just going to jump right in here to the podcast. Say hi, Bitter.
Hi. Google search is awful. Also, I like video games.
Yeah, it definitely is like the top 10 searches are all like monetizable things now.
Just, if I open up Google now, let's see. I can look for pretty much anything and everything. And first ones will be sponsored results. Let's see, Hearts of Iron 4. Well, that's pretty obvious, but key. Let's see, key. There you go, key. It's not going to direct me straight to Steam. No. First one that gives me is a sponsored post by G2A. Then another key shop that's sponsored. Then another key shop that's sponsored. Then another key shop that's sponsored. It doesn't even show Steam in the first page. Anyway,
for me, Steam. So Steam is the first thing that came up.
It might be regional or user-based then. It's probably doing something to build off your search history, maybe? Because I have used Steam key resellers to get Steam keys to give away.
So well, it comes up for me because I purchased the game on Steam. But did you buy direct from Paradox?
No, I got the game from Steam as well. But I recently bought a couple of keys to give away in one of my videos. So it might be using that information, because Google knows everything about you, to adjust your search results. Steam doesn't show up for me until the third page.
That is very interesting. Well, not quite sure why that is, but yeah, I haven't tried Bing out, but yeah, ChatGPT apparently is infused into Bing.
Yeah, I saw that. I think on Linus Tech Tips. They did a whole segment on it. It was super interesting to watch. I've been using ChatGPT a little bit to like give me suggestions for titles, that sort of stuff. It helped me write like I know this is super unpopular with YouTube watchers, but it helped me write a couple of ad segments that I had to do, some sponsored segments. It's just
while this may
mind-blowing what that thing can do.
No, absolutely. And I had some frustrations with going back to the Google search, because like I'm really big into like electrification and solar and stuff like that. And here in California, they reduced all the new solar installations are now going forward. The energy company will give you a quarter of what they give you currently. So everyone's trying to get grandfathered in. There's like a cutoff date, and they're trying to get their solar up. So anyway, I went to the search, and I couldn't find anything about it.
Wait, so you mean the installation that you buy, you're not getting the power, or how does that work?
So the excess.
Yeah. Whatever you're not using gets air quotes sold to the power company, and they pay you peanuts.
Yes. So it is 1 to 2 cents per kilowatt hour, and they sell it to you for around 20 to 30 cents a kilowatt hour in California. And so that's already a tenth. And now they're going to cut your reimbursement down by a quarter.
Let's see what I have a same setup. I get 7 cents per kilowatt, and I pay 27 cents per kilowatt. So not great, not terrible. I should get a battery, but they're so expensive.
So you get like 3 times more than me in reimbursement. And I do have the battery and I have the Tesla Powerwall. And the battery now comes into play because the reimbursement is so small. There's no point of dumping your electricity onto the grid. You want to like hoard it for yourself pretty much.
I think that's going to be the future either way. Anyone who can afford it is probably going to get it simply because it's going to be the cheapest option. As soon as batteries become more efficient and cheaper, that's just going to be the way forward.
Oh yeah, I agree. I was like, dude, I was in the All In podcast. I like listening to that podcast, and they were talking about superconductors, where like, I guess transferring energy over land, you lose like 15% of the energy. And if you get superconductors, like you don't get that energy loss. So that they're trying to come up with like new materials to make these superconductors. It was pretty interesting.
Science.
But anyways, let's get it. People aren't here for the electrification talk.
All right, video games. I like video games.
So what is the origin story of Bitt3rSteel?
Like originally I just wanted to make videos, just any kind of video, and this is going to sound incredibly stupid, but I had recently at the time gotten a new CPU, a new motherboard, because my old shit broke. I was thinking, I want to put this thing through its paces. I'm going to have it render stuff. I'm going to have it render a video. So I started recording a Let's Play. Yes, I know. A Let's Play for Crusader Kings. And I just wanted to see it render. That's it. I wanted to have my CPU put under load. And that's it. But then I made one video for Hearts of Iron. And why I specifically make videos for Hearts of Iron, and still do, is because I got really, really annoyed every time I went on the forums or the Reddit and saw people asking, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but asking really dumb questions that had been answered 1,000 times before. And I figured, I'm going to make a video about this so people can stop arguing about it. Which, of course, didn't work, but it was good for me.
So let's delve into that a little more. I just had the pleasure of trying to help out a fellow streamer like learn Hearts of Iron 4. And it made me realize the depth of the game. Like when you've played for 5 years, it was taking me back to the first time I played the game. But the game has been updated so much that it's not how it was when I started playing. It's much more complex. What are your thoughts on that?
It's difficult for me to understand. It's hard for me to really get what a new player is struggling with, because I've got those years of experience. I've got 4,000 and something hours in this game, and every major change has been an incremental change over that course. So every time they add a new DLC, they add a new mechanic. It's just that one mechanic I have to come to grips with, and then I move on. It's added to the toolkit. When a new player comes in, they're presented with a giant mountain of mechanics, and they have to struggle through it because, let's be honest, the tutorial is worthless.
And I think I played the tutorial once, like years ago, but
the old Italy tutorial was absolutely useless. It taught you almost nothing beyond interacting with the UI.
Well, I would assume that it doesn't teach you like how to make an aircraft design anymore, or like
none of that. Nope. That's why they recently, I think the last 2 or 3 DLCs, they had a bunch of those short video tutorials made by content creators, and they used that, spread that out to the public to educate these people, because we're not doing a tutorial. Tutorial sucks.
Well, that's the for those of you that don't know, there is this is a little behind the scenes, but what Hearts of Iron 4 has done recently is invited onto their Discord a bunch of creators so that the creators that are whitelisted are able to know that a new whatever is coming out, a DLC or a game update, right? And so then we get a sneak peek like maybe 24 hours ahead of time, and they tell us about the game updates, but basically people are giving feedback on that Discord thread, and it made me realize though that the game developers could have focused on either like educating people about the game, or they focus on developing the game and then leave it up to like you and I to teach people about the game. How do you see that sort of concept?
I think that they've recently, or fairly recently, made that shift into we're just going to develop it. We're going to leave the actual education and the exposure and the guerrilla marketing over to these creators that they're doing fine. And we're just going to develop things. We're going to take that feedback. We're going to go to work with it. I know that people complain a lot about things not getting patched, but they actually listen to a whole lot of feedback. They make a whole lot of changes, not just based on like the limited creator club feedback, but like audience feedback. The problem is that it's often very low quality feedback. And by that, I don't mean that people give dumb answers. It's just that this stuff doesn't work is not a good bug report, because it's going to take a whole lot of time for somebody in QA. I don't even know if they still have QA. I would assume they do. Anyway, it's going to take a whole lot of time for someone to go in there and wonder, why does this not work? And having to test that 7, 8, 10 times. And they're not going to do that because they have a very small team. You wouldn't believe how small the Hearts of Iron team is, considering they're a cash cow for Paradox right now. So it's just a matter of prioritizing where the work goes. And a lot of that work is prioritized towards new features and updates that are critical to the game. At least in my experience, I've talked to the devs a couple of times, and that's the response I got.
Yeah, that seems to be accurate and fair. I'm sitting there, and what I'm doing now is live streaming the dev diaries or the patch notes that are coming out. I tend to skip over the smaller dev diaries and patch notes because I just don't want to spam to my audience. But basically, I'm sitting there on a live stream, and one of the community members, Pillbox, he has his own Hearts of Iron 4 channel. He's a little smaller, but I'm sitting there and there's all these Bulgarian notes. And I'm like, Pillbox, did you make these? And he's like, yes. So they made all these changes for Pillbox because Pillbox is Bulgarian, made his own mod, and it just blew my mind away. So they do listen to individuals as well.
Yep. But you have to present it in a way that they can work with quickly and easily. Because manpower is the one thing they don't have. They don't have man hours to throw around. It has to be something concrete and preferably fast. And then they'll fix it if you bring it to them on a platter.
Yeah, I noticed that with I was trying not to just like give misdirection, but when we were trying to help him out with development of By Blood Alone, I was like, should I put this up here? Like, did they already know about this? And like, gosh, I know this happened, but I don't have it on a platter. And invariably, I did give them things that they, you're going to have to give me screenshots and what was happening in game and things like that. And unfortunately, a few times I did say, hey, this is broken. Sorry, I don't have time to look into it. But yeah, absolutely.
I do find that especially during those early days when they're specifically asking for feedback, if you bring in the save games and the screenshots and you actually describe what's happening fairly well, they're going to fix it pretty fast. Because I don't think it lasted long, but the build I got before it went live for By Blood Alone, there were bugs in it that would lock you into a peace deal that you couldn't escape. That got fixed real fast.
That was interesting from a behind the scenes perspective because they really did put a lot of work into the P-Steel system because, and you got to see it change, or at least we did in like real time because we got the beta version of By Blood Alone, and it was way vastly different from other iterations. So I was quite pleased, but the I don't think the community appreciated what they were doing.
It's difficult because what the community gets and what is released is something very different from the first build they allow beta testers and us creators access to. So we see the progress, we see the incremental patches, the changes, and see it become something that is actually pretty good by the time it goes live. But then it is presented to people, and instead of being played by, let's say, 100 people, it's suddenly played by 100,000 people, and those 100,000 people are inevitably going to do things that those earlier 100 haven't done, haven't tried, haven't tested, and they're going to find wild and wacky stuff that aren't supposed to be there. And they will conclude none of this was tested, they just threw this out there, which isn't the case. But you can't test a game, have a game tested by 100,000 people doing everything, everywhere, all at once, because nobody has that kind of time or money.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. And I just posted a quote for Cat. I don't know how to spell his name. Caton? I told him you could do anything, but not everything. And that's a quote by David Allen. And I think that for me, that puts things into perspective. I have I'd like to kind of switch gears here into your creative process because I have problems wanting to do everything on YouTube in Hearts of Iron 4, but I get sidetracked and I don't concentrate or focus enough. What is your like YouTube content creator experience?
Like at the start, I was very, very focused on just getting achievement guides out. I think that is what built this channel at the start, and that was just pick an achievement or a set of achievements and find the most effective and consistently functional path to do it. Test it, and then record it. And that went very well as long as there were achievements left to do and they weren't dumb or annoying or inane. And that is what I initially did. And of course, that kind of content runs out eventually because there's only so many achievements to go around. And then you come into the territory of what I've also tried a couple of times, like the country guides. And people are inevitably going to disagree with you, especially since I don't really do numbers. I don't spreadsheet my build out. I don't mathematically calculate the optimal amount of factories to put on guns and that sort of stuff. I kind of roll with it and see what works. I and then refine it over the course of about a week where I play it again and again and again and again until I have something that always works, is robust when things don't work, so I can give people if A, then B, if B, then C. Just give people options if it doesn't work. That's what I mean. And then record that, which is fun to a point, but you don't always want to do that kind of content because it's tiresome. It takes a whole lot of time, and it's a real bottleneck in the creative process because I don't have that much time. If I did nothing else but play Hearts of Iron, sure, but I've got a job full time. I have a wife, a child, a second child on the way, so I can't spend all 24 of my hours every day doing that. So I then saw another YouTuber, Legend of Total War, do like those disaster campaigns. I don't know if you've know of his channel, but he does Total War. And people send him either, say, for a battle that's gone horribly wrong or is horribly lopsided, or a campaign that's really in the gutter, and he then tries to pull it out of the gutter. And I figured, I could do that for Hearts of Iron 4. How about I do that, but not just rectify things, just show people that you can win no matter what. If you have a certain amount of resources left, you can always win. And I use those videos to teach people how certain mechanics work, how you can leverage every country's strength or mitigate their weakness. I think that is the content that has done best for the channel so far.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. You know, I have watched Legend of Total War. I like his just hanging out on the live stream sometimes. But there are these channels that are more dedicated to getting into the weeds of the math and testing and things like that. I don't know if you've done any of those types of videos, but I myself am a field player as well. Have you come across any of these other channels that do head-to-head, like plane ship testing, things like that?
I've seen a couple of them, and I look at it. I think it's interesting, but it's not what I'm good at. I'll be honest. I really don't have a head for mathematics. I don't have the patience for it, nor the time. And if somebody else is making that kind of content, that's great. People can watch that. I'll look at it, go, you know what? If it works, I'm going to try that and just apply it in my videos. If it's something that is functional, like the plane design. I think recently, was it Dave, Feedback Gaming, he did a video comparing planes where he had a whole bunch of people send him their favorite plane design, and then went head to head and spreadsheeted it all out until we got the best plane of the bunch. And I saw that video. I think, you know what? Tommy K made a good plane. I'm going to use that design from now on, and just roll with it for the next videos I make. Because if it works, somebody else has done the math. I don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, and I appreciated that video, but I'd like to bring more context to it, because there's the difference between a field player and like a math player, and the flaws of like the math player. And like, let me pull, how many civs do you have? You know, you'd be playing multiplayer. How many mills do you have? Well, you should be here at this point. That there is a good reference numbers that you can come up with. But unfortunately, for every country and every situation, game mode, DLC, no DLC, everything is going to be so different depending on what your opponent's doing, what the AI is doing, RNG events that come up, that I feel like I'm obviously biased because I'm a field player, but just playing the game, seeing what works and doesn't work, in my opinion, is better than taking niche head-to-head comparison and then trying to extrapolate them over a wide set of possibilities.
That's true. Especially with things like division design. There are certain divisions that are mathematically better than others, and that's fantastic. Like, it's less now since they changed the combat with I think No Step Back. Was that No Step Back? Has it been that long?
Yes, that was No Step Back.
It has been that long, yeah.
October
like before
21.
Like the go-to was the classic 7-2 or the 10-0 or whatever. Those were standard designs. They were not technically optimal, but they were easy to make, easy to manage, easy for an idiot to understand and work with. That is why I preferred them in those videos. They're easy, they're fire and forget. They're not the best tool, but they're a tool that is going to work. It's not going to do... Other divisions will outperform it, but you don't have to babysit these. Which is very much what I like. It's also why I almost always run very homogeneous armies. Infantry has one template, motorized has a template if I use it, and tanks have one template. I'm not going to sit there and optimize for every specific country and situation. I'm just going to have these tools, and I'm going to use them. What I often get criticized about, for instance, is that I didn't leverage the overpowered flame tank. One, because I knew it was overpowered. It's pointless to use it as a crutch now, because I don't need it. And two, realistically, how much is that tank going to help you if I can instead just make more medium tanks and have more fun playing with my micro tanks? I think people who watch my videos know I very much like to micro my tanks around. So I think that works a lot better than just setting up a giant steamroller and pressing that arrow button to go and watching the bubbles go green. It's the least. I think it's more fun, more reliable.
Yes, and that's what people like. Let's take Dankus for an example. This is what people kind of miss out on, is that a lot of the times multiplayers fall into these traps of there's one way of doing things. Every time I've watched Dankus play, and I think by now we can just say that he's the best Hearts of Iron 4 multiplayer player. Are you of that same opinion, or do you like someone else?
No, his tank game is just, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just mechanically also nothing you can do about it.
But if you absolutely, and if you watch it, if you watch the last tournament, I asked him, he was in Feedback's chat, and no one said anything, but I saw what he did. I said, hey, did you click on your opponent's country, and did you see that he was going tank no air? He said, yeah. And then he said, so I said, that's why you went cast. And he said, yes. That's all he said. But you could see that there is not one way of doing it. He's reading and reacting in real time to what's going on. And that is the only way you could play a multiplayer sport, video game, etc., is that you have to react to what your opponent's doing, not what is the best way, quote unquote.
Yes, but Hearts of Iron 4 multiplayer in that regard has a very huge drawback. Everything is decided at the start of the game. You cannot halfway decide that it turns out the enemy air is a little more powerful than I had anticipated. I'm going to need to shift gears here. By that time, you've already lost, even if the war hasn't been declared. It's such a tight numbers game that you pick a strategy and commit to it. And if the other guy has committed to your exact counter, nothing you can do about it.
Yes, and that is why you get stuck with the metas of like medium tanks, because if you go light or heavy, you can be countered hard, and particularly against Germany, they have so much production, they have the ability to shift and then just shift their production to counter you. Germany is going to be much less flexible because, like you said, it's decided from the beginning. There's very few opportunities to counter in a historical game. I do agree, but yeah, a lot of the games are scuffed by North Africa. I would say probably about 50%, maybe even more. What is your multiplayer experience?
I really don't play multiplayer because, one, I don't have the time, and two, I'll be honest, I don't understand any of the metas. It was such a different game from single player. Like, I'd be completely useless. If you drop me into a multiplayer lobby, I'd be useless. But the way, like, I see those videos or the VODs of Twitch streamers, and just all that micro in meaningless places like North Africa or the Raj, and I'm thinking, really? That's where you're gonna decide the war? Because in single player, those areas don't matter. There's just Europe, and that's cool and all. I don't know, man. It makes it. Like I said, I don't have any experience with it. It's just foreign. It's just alien to me.
So that's funny because I arrived at that same conclusion as well. North Africa is basically incredibly fun. It gives the opportunity for Germany to get oil from Iraq, and then some of the best mods will actually give you a collaboration government in Iraq. So it's actually meaningful. You're going after the oil, as they did historically. And then you can actually encircle, like I've encircled 20 UK like allied divisions in North Africa, where it has been incredibly impactful. It also gives the Allies a chance of taking out the OP tank divisions. As Germany, you're probably only going to send over 4 max, maybe 6, but I think that's a little too aggressive. And you have a chance as they try to cross to take them out, and you have the chance of taking out the Italian Navy. And there's a huge air battle behind that as well. Now, you could completely skip North Africa as Germany and be fine as well. So I think that's what you're alluding to, but it's so dang fun. I don't know.
It's a very narrow strip of land where you can just really narrow your focus down to just those couple of divisions and those couple of tiles, and line moves left, line moves right. I can see the appeal. It's just not for me. That's the kind of front I just stick a couple units on and forget about.
Oh, absolutely. But I think that it was telling that the Paradox tournament a few months back was they had taken out the rest of the map and just had the North Africa focus, because it's such an interesting place that where if you were to just focus, like you absolutely had to fight there. It's great gameplay, and Dankus won that tournament too.
Yeah, I saw the mod. It's a good mod. It's interesting. I have no experience with multiplayer, so I wouldn't even know how to begin to play those campaigns. It feels like it's such everything is this is you have to play this exact specific path. You have to follow these focuses to the day. Produce X amount of guns to the exact number. If you fall short, you've already lost. I don't like that kind of game.
I'm with you, man. I do enjoy it sometimes, but the practicality of streaming it is going to be incredibly challenging unless you just take a piece of the map and you have 1v1s. Because in my experience in multiplayer, there's a lot of arguments. There's a lot of arguments about meta, or if someone messes up, there's a lot of dogpiling. And someone's going to mess up because, well, we're not perfect. And the games that my team was able to just forge on and be like, okay, we're in this situation, let's problem solve. We, ended up doing well, or I had a really fun time. When you're seeing dogpiling or you're getting dogpiled on, it's like, just uninstall the game. There's no point.
Might as well go play League of Legends now.
Yeah, at least in League, it's made for that multiplayer. So I feel like there's more guardrails. So I've mentioned this quite a bit, that you could cheat very easily in multiplayer, not even using cheat engine. It's like the easiest thing to do. You could just civ boost a certain country. As a matter of fact, if every country in the Axis just traded all their civs away to Germany, that would be optimal, because Germany has Rommel and they have Halder. So these are going to be the most important bonuses that you're going to have in the game. But you mentioned League of Legends. I'm very curious, what other games do you play?
Definitely not League of Legends. Played it once, got yelled at for being bad, uninstalled it. I play mostly... Well, actually, I don't really play a whole lot else nowadays, because I'll be honest, this is my past. This is every time I don't spend working my day job or with the family, I'm working on a video. So I'm mostly playing Hearts of Iron, either testing or recording. And if I'm not, in those rare instances, I'm either playing that latest Call of Duty game with some guys from work, because at least it gets me some social interaction there. It's terrible, by the way. I don't get it. And what have I recently played? I got a whole bunch of stuff installed, but actively playing. Gotten back into Total War now that the Immortal Empires campaign's been released. And just to have something to do while I'm not at the computer, I've gotten into building and painting Warhammer minis.
Oh, dude, that's so cool. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, hit me up if you want to play Call of Duty. I haven't played that in months, but I have that game as well.
Yeah, I just like a couple of squad mates from work. We just like play a couple of games. At least it gets me some vague semblance of social interaction because I honestly do not like that game. Call of Duty, it hasn't been good since what, Modern Warfare 2 maybe, but it's fun for the normies.
I agree exactly, and I could probably play through 5 games and then I'm done with the current iteration. It's just like the game, the gunplay, everything just sits there. Like there's, I don't. The accuracy is like to me really just like a laser beam. Every gun is on rails. You get like blown up by grenades. There's people yelling at you. You have to mute everyone, or people are like singing into the mic. It's weird.
It's definitely weird, but major franchise, so they're gonna keep making more of them.
Well, I've actually been playing. I think I mentioned to you Escape from Tarkov.
I've heard about this game a lot. Yeah,
it has levels to the game where if you wanted to play with your workmates, like you could load into a match with your mates. But if you want to play solo, you could do that as well. And it's more about like looting, selling things to traders, upgrading your character. There's upgrading your base. There's like a lot of depth and role playing to it.
Is it a bit like Arma?
I've never played Arma, and the only thing that I've seen from Arma is like Frankie on PC. And does that incorporate base building?
I have no idea. I'm just naming games that I know from hearsay.
What they did is they combined like the graphics of Modern Warfare with a looter shooter like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, where you drop in and you're like looting to upgrade your character so you could fight better. With like, I don't know how to describe it. There have been other with DayZ, so like with exploration and looting. They've combined all these different types of games to make a game that I don't know. It's just really in depth and really fun. But unfortunately, that's taking away from my content with Hearts of Iron 4. So I'm getting back to Hearts of Iron 4.
Don't forget to have fun, though. It's important to have fun.
Oh, absolutely! Like I'm still having fun with Hearts of Iron 4. I'm doing a Persia build, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's almost impossible. It's like worse than the Macedonian one.
Oh, I did a Persia run, a couple of patches before No Step Back, I want to say, or just during. I can't remember, but a while ago as Iran. Now I'm trying to do one as Afghanistan because I promised or alluded to doing an A to Z, and Afghanistan's the first country on that list. I figured, how do I make Afghanistan interesting? Persian Empire. Then I started testing it, and it's like, I'm not gonna enjoy this.
Yeah, because you start off with almost nothing, and then you have to eventually take Kuwait, and Egypt, and parts of Libya, and you have to go up against France somehow. It just like, has anyone ever formed this nation in the history of Hearts of Iron 4? Like, I don't know.
I'm thinking it should be possible by cheesing the new P-Steel systems and being really, really good friends with Stalin. That's what I'm thinking, because he's the only person you don't need stuff from.
Oh, I was going with the Axis side of things. I went.
No, you gotta fight Italy then. No. But if you can buddy up with Stalin before that happens, I'm thinking Iran you can defeat relatively easily. Same with Iraq. If you time your war declarations right, you can eat those two countries for free, air quotes, and then build a small elite force. That's as far as I've gotten, and then I got involved in the war with the Axis far too early. But I'm thinking lean on the Soviets, help them survive Barbarossa, and use them as leverage to knock down the Axis. Try to gobble up the bit of Syria if you can in the peace deal. If not, doesn't matter. And then find a way to use Stalin as a sledgehammer against the Allies, because you don't need a peace deal. You just need to occupy worthless dirt.
Yeah. And I was trying this as Iran, and it is the generic focus tree, so you can go communist. So
at least Iran has manpower, so you have that.
And they have some oil too. But other than that, it was very like bare bones. They do have an attack specialist, 10% army attack, which was nice. They do have an infantry expert. And they do have like air superiority expert, a 10% bonus to air superiority.
Yeah, but are you realistically going to build enough planes for it to matter?
So because your neighbors don't have that much air force, I think it might be possible. I'm still testing it because 100 CAS could make the difference, and nothing is going to shoot it down from like Iraq or Afghanistan or Turkey. Like, I think just being able to build like 50 CAS could be the difference. I'm not sure.
Possibly. I wouldn't bother with any of those gimmicks for Afghanistan. You can kill their army by letting it walk into Iran and then encircling it. Probably same for Iraq, really. But you do have weak neighbors. That's a fact. You could leverage a little bit of air power there. It's just that in the grand scheme of things, when you go up against the big boys, if you're not the leader in air production, you might as well not build anything.
True. That's why you need a buddy like USSR or someone that can give you air or ground superiority. Something. Yeah, I agree. And that's what we learned. That's what I learned, at least with the Macedonia build. And that started opening up my gameplay for, because you buddy up into these factions and then you could decide if they come into the war or not, or if they have supply or not. And if you need help, it's there. If not, at least they're not attacking you.
That's true. So I would recommend going with the Soviets in any case, because you don't need to fight them. Or, well, you could dogpile them along with the rest of the Axis. See if you can get a nice juicy puppet out of it that you can squeeze dry for factories and manpower, but you'd be competing with Germany for a whole lot of war score.
Yeah, I think I played like 10 hours so far. It's going to be an interesting one. Is there any content that you're coming out with that you'd like to share with the audience?
Let's see. I have a couple of videos left in the bank that I'm planning to release soon. Nothing super special, so disaster save as usual. I've just finished a guide for Italy. I need to finish recording tonight, but it's all settled, where we can get as many achievements as possible. So I hope people enjoy that run. It's wild, it's wacky, and it's pretty cool. And then the one I'm releasing tomorrow, that is a new experiment, but I think I can do better next time, where I play Germany as best I can until the fall of France, and then I switch over to the Soviets to see if I can kill the monster I've created.
Dude, you come up with some fantastic ideas, I have to admit. Like, I'm stoked for those. I'm stoked for the Italy video and that Germany built video. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I think if it does well, I'm going to try it again, but make it like progressively harder on myself. So now I stopped at the fall of France and tagged over to the Soviets. That gave me about a year and a half. Now I'm going to try it next time, if the video does well, to see if I can also C-line and then switch over. And if that goes well and I actually live, I'm going to go all the way up to Barbarossa and then tag over.
Dude, that is really cool. I'll be waiting intently for that content. That sounds really fun.
I guess some of the hardest things to do is coming up with ideas. I have a big blackboard in my office that I just write ideas down on and look at every now and then thinking, is this still a good idea? Is this something I'm actually able to do?
So yeah, I do the same thing, but I just have like a little note. I make notepads, and I have a running list of ideas, and I'll return to them. And I think I'm in a different phase of being a content creator where the first phase was I want to play the game, and I press record. Now I'm more into a phase where I don't want to give my audience anything that I don't think that they're going to like. So I've got this list and I revisited it like you, and then I'm like, well, I don't think they'd like that. But the problem that I have is some of the ideas I don't want to do, but I know the audience would like. Do you ever encounter that problem?
Oh yeah, I'm still I'm sitting on a gold mine in that if I just played Endzig, I would get 150k views, easy video. But I don't want to do it. I don't want to play Endzig because it's not updated. It doesn't have 2 of the DLCs. I have to learn how the game used to work all over again. I don't want to do it.
That is hilarious because my Discord wants me to do it. I agreed to do it. I'm going to do it. They want NSIG 1945, and all the things you just said, I turned it on and I played through once, and I was like, I don't think I could do this.
Oh god, I did the second to last one. I think I did that one on stream in 3 separate streams. So I know I could probably do it. I'm a better player than I was then, but that will be also me giving up like half the tools I regularly use now. You have to learn how to do things again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's where I don't know if you've noticed I've put out no DLC content.
Oh yeah.
So like I realized that most of the new players don't have DLCs, and I just stumbled upon it. I was like, one day I was like, what if I play Germany with no DLCs? And that turned out to be a hit on my channel. And I'm sitting there like, I don't understand why people are watching this content. And I realized that most new players don't have any DLCs. And then all the comments are like, how are you able to use a spy? How are you able to do this? And like, I feel like the game is at a point where they need to shore up this problem with there being too many different versions of the game. What do you think about that?
Yeah, like it's Paradox's business model. They give you a skeleton and then they add to it over the years, giving you games that will last for a decade. Look at EU4, for instance. The downside is though that in no way, shape, or form is that original game still recognizable after all those patches and DLCs. And if you don't have the DLCs, you're working with something that barely works because a lot of newly added free stuff that you have access to leans on paid content that you don't have access to, making for an unenjoyable experience, I'd say. Plus, there's just so much stuff that even if you're going to buy it piecemeal, you end up spending so much money on it.
So let's dovetail into where do you feel the future of Hearts of Iron 4, like what do you think that they should do, considering what you just said about EU4? What do you think they should do moving forward as a business model, like with the DLCs and like new DLCs and new content?
I mean, new content, there's plenty of countries they can still work with. Obviously, all of it is going to be expensive in that nothing's free. Like dev time costs money. That's just the way it is. They got to pay for it somehow. But I'm thinking they've recently come out with their subscription model for the DLCs. So if you have that monthly sub on Steam, you get access to all the DLCs. Like personally, I don't like software as a service, but considering the amount of DLCs you don't have to buy, if you take that, if you're a casual player, it's not a bad idea. It gives you access to everything for a relatively small cost. And then country packs, I don't know if I like country packs. Yes, they don't introduce major mechanics that would ruin the game if you lack them or make the game less enjoyable. But the focus trees are so central to Hearts of Iron 4. They decide how every game turns out. So every time a new focus tree is added, the world changes significantly in its over the course of a game. For instance, New Italy, with its new focus tree, completely invalidates a whole lot of older guys leaning on Italy's original behavior. So if you don't have that, and you're watching guides, you're going like, why does my Italy not do this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I almost think that they should have simplified the Italian focus tree a little bit more. I think that the framework is there, but like they were saying that the USSR focus tree was way bigger than what they thought. And I'm actually friends on Discord with a guy who claims that he developed the focus tree for them because he's done a lot of studying about the Soviet Union. So I think that as we were talking about before, the interaction between the enthusiasts and the developers sometimes can get a little out of hand. I don't think that it's bad, but I think that the developers really do listen and are trying to give the community what it wants. But I think it can go a little bit overboard. As an example, the Italian focus tree and the balance of power has, that turned off a lot of people.
I gotta be honest, I don't like the balance of power. Not one bit. It feels like a tedious way to steer me in a certain direction that I really don't want to go. And I don't like it. I really don't like it. Like, look at Switzerland. I hate that country. I will never touch that again in its current state. And they would have to change it significantly for it to be anything close to being fun, just because of the complete lunacy of the balance of power and the way it integrates to the focus tree. It's so complicated, it turns into a second job just playing Switzerland.
Oh yeah, when they came out with the Swiss focus tree, I'm sorry if anyone's from Switzerland, I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be like a game of bureaucracy, basically. Is that what your experience was?
Yeah, and it was just not fun. You had to, before you started playing, you had to sit down, look at the focus tree, and at the start decide, I want to go there, but now I got to do the math. When do I click that button so I can later on click that button and not forget to take that focus first, then move back over to that focus, but I have to click the other button before I can do that, and it's just not fun.
Dude, everyone for years hated the Italian focus tree, and they put Italy off for years. But my argument was, it is the central, like it's in the center of everything, and in the center of the Mediterranean, which is a very complex part of the map. And I always thought that they put off upgrading the Italian focus tree because it would screw up World War II. And to a certain extent, I think that turned out to be true. But I loved the old Italian focus tree because of the simplicity of it. What do you think?
Yeah, it was easy. You couldn't really fuck it up. It was also powerful because it had significant bonuses in there, mostly economics. And it really didn't matter. You could grab what you wanted and then ignore the entire focus tree. You were free to do as you pleased because nobody was tying you down. You could go wherever. Now, like the tree's not awful. It has its shining gems in there, but the way the balance of power now constrains Italy, how it basically forces you into certain directions because you don't really have any other options unless you make it super complicated, is it's not the kind of game I really like to play. Like I'm a little afraid for when they eventually rework Germany, for instance. They're probably going to overcomplicate it because they run away with wild ideas, and I'm afraid it might result in a less fun experience.
I am afraid as well, because if you wanted to pick one nation where that could really alter all the other nations, it would be Germany for sure. So like that one nation is a keystone that could literally screw up the whole game if they don't do it right.
Yeah, and the more complex they make the focus tree, the harder it's going to be for the AI to properly leverage it, because you can't really do more than, say, follow that path and react to certain stimuli. But a lot of the focus trees aren't powerful. Like the new ones aren't really powerful unless you leverage them in a very specific way that an AI is very likely not going to be able to manage. Like the Soviets can be ridiculously strong, but you got to plan it out and game it out, and it's a little bit of effort. Same for Italy. They can be ridiculously strong, but you have to take certain detours and specific paths and do specific things that the AI is just not going to do. And as a result, the AI often struggles. Soviet AI, I've never seen them repel a Barbarossa. They get pushed back to where Germany can't really go further because of the way the supply hubs are set up, and their only salvation is that that's just the way they put the supply hubs there. It's not because the AI is suddenly mounting a successful defense. It's just Germany can't push any further, and the other AI is equally bad at managing its troops. And with Italy, you often see it fail in keeping up industrially, which is probably historical, but still. Gameplay-wise, not that fun to have a major power really suck.
Once you meet the TurboTax
Plus, they fail to properly deploy their troops because the AI doesn't have the sense to guard its ports. It doesn't have the sense to properly employ its limited navy, and it wastes its entirety of its strength in Africa nowadays. That's what it does. It just sends everybody to Africa where they die.
Yeah, they did. That was probably like a year back. They weighted the AI to sending more troops to Africa, and it was supposed to, like, UK was supposed to be more balanced out. But I do use the North Africa trick as, you know, to basically soak up all the UK troops to Sea Lion, and it is a little annoying for sure. I wanted to tell you, I did a time lapse, and it was, as you said, like, I think I just had the AI play, and Germany loses in 1955, I think. And the Soviets did not lose. However, Germany pushed out to a certain point, and because of supply, the AI couldn't move anymore. And eventually, what happened was Germany loses, but the western half of the USSR, Germany is still alive by the end of that video in 1953, actually, because they conquered so much territory in Barbarossa that Germany is just Western USSR. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, pretty wild and wacky. That is the downfall usually of Germany. The AI is economically very strong. It has a good tree. It has a good industrial base due to the way it can gobble up a couple of countries early on and has most of Europe locked down. And then it starts Barbarossa, is not able to knock out the Soviets, but it also doesn't have the sense to manage its limited resources and ends up burning every single rifle it has in attrition. It just attritions to death and then is killed by 1,000 tiny naval invasions that it can't really contest properly because its entire army stuck somewhere on the east side of the Urals.
So you're absolutely right, but do you know how the AI mitigates the fact that they attrition so bad?
Now I'm curious.
So what I saw during this 8-hour time lapse that I did, because that's how long it took, Germany would literally just get manpower from everyone else in the Axis. And they have complete cooperation. Guns, manpower, whatever they wanted. Most of the pop-ups was Germany receiving stuff from the other Axis members. Until that runs out in the 1950s, the game just continues on.
Which is a little annoying, because that's all the other Axis members are realistically going to do. Italy screws up in Africa and usually dies to a random UK naval invasion, even more easily now than before. Bulgaria doesn't border anyone, so its AI doesn't think there's any threat anywhere and just keeps its entire army at home. Same for Hungary. And Romania does well, pushes out. Germany requests some land. As a result, Romania no longer borders the Soviets, and all the Romanian troops go home and sit there and wait. Germany's allies don't do anything.
Well, that's what I was saying about multiplayer. The best way to play multiplayer would be for all the other Axis to just not play the game, just play your focus tree and your economy and give all the stuff to where the best bonuses are. And that's going to be Germany. And obviously no one wants to play like that, though.
Yeah, I tried. I had a video idea to play as the USA and only do Lend-Lease. Don't get involved in any other way except Lend-Lease. It works, but nobody's going to want to watch that. It's just me sitting there until 1948 funneling guns into the Soviet Union.
It might work as like an 8-minute video, but then you probably spent like 10, 15 hours on an 8-minute video.
Germany did lose by 1945, so it wasn't that long, but is it really worth the effort? Is it really something people want to watch? It's not really any action going on.
Yeah, and I struggle with that where, yeah, I could have a video that I want to do, but then the time sunk compared to the amount of joy my viewers will garner from that video. Like, I do that min-max as well. So I have that issue as well. But the one thing, I don't know, this is going to be kind of hard to bring up, but like, have you taken any, like, for instance, like Joe Rogan said, like, video games are useless. Have you taken any real world takeaways from playing Hearts of Iron 4 or any other type of video game?
Not particularly. No, they're just a nice bit of escapism. Not really looking for any life lessons here. But what HOI4 does help with is it mild sort of management, I guess. It helps you keep track of many things. Because you have to.
I think that it has really made me good at setting a goal and trying to get to that goal, because it instills discipline. Because, like, for instance, the Macedonia build, unless you get good at playing Greece, you're not going to make Macedonia. I guarantee you.
Yeah, that kind of video does make you good at thinking outside the box as well.
Exactly. So to me, I think there's a lot of IRL takeaways that I've had where it has improved my discipline, but then also made me think outside of the box, where I feel like I'm a better problem solver. You know, take the solar thing, for instance, like, to where I was like, well, I want to save money with solar. Like, how do I do that? So I plotted it out like I was playing like Hearts of Iron 4 and trying to figure out a focus tree or something. But I mean, I think that it's a good mental gymnastics playing like strategy games.
It's also one of the advantages, one of the trademarks of a grand strategy game is that it's not just APM, actions per minute. You have to think, you have to plan, and have to manage a lot of things, and it's more than just squeeze out units, micro units around. And I like that. I really do.
Yeah, it's the thing that I want to do this thing, but it's going to be 10 years. And how do I get from A to B to C to D in the best way possible, and like plotting out this this line that, you know, the in game is like World War II is going to be like 8 or 9 years because you start off at 36. So the game's going to be 8 or 9 years. You only spend a few hours, but you still get the sense that I really need to, in real life, make proper decisions now, because in 8 or 9 years, I want to be in this spot. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I approach the game a little differently maybe than I would other games, because while Hearts of Iron 4 is a game about war, you've already won that war by the time it starts. I mean, that is my goal, to never start a war that I'm not sure I can lose.
Oh, and it feels so bad when you just have to go to the main menu again and start all over again. But it's still
I
like,
fucked up.
yeah, it's still like inspirational to like keep going. Like, and then once you get back into the game, like, oh, I'm gonna beat it this time. I'm not gonna lose.
Yeah, gotta figure it out. Gotta figure it out. There's always another way.
Well, congratulations on the new baby coming. I'm glad that I could beat the baby, and we could have this conversation. And thanks for taking time out of your schedule to talk with me. Is there anything else that you'd like to discuss, or like, do you have any cool hobbies that you do over there in Europe?
Well, nothing Europe specific. Like I said, I just started with these Warhammer miniatures. Really fun, something to do while I'm not looking at a screen, which is very nice. A nice change of pace. Other than that, I expect to be very busy in the near future. But when that schedule eventually clears up, I would very much like if we could perhaps do a collaboration. I recently did one with two of my community members and smaller YouTubers as well, Antasil and Hatless Spider, where we played 3 countries and tried to survive against all odds. That kind of stuff did very well on the channel, and it was also very fun. So maybe we can work something like that out. And yeah, I think that's about it. And maybe, just maybe, in a couple of months' time, I can go full time, and the whole world will be my oyster.
Wait, you gotta tell me more about that. So, are you thinking about going full time YouTube?
I'm thinking it. Mostly because I'll have 2 kids, and I actually want to spend time with. I don't want to spend 8 hours a day doing a job while I then come home and spend more hours doing a second job, while I can make do with one job that allows me to be home near my kids with my wife, and just if I can pay the bills with YouTube, I want to do that, even if it's just a short time, because we all have to realize this kind of content, this is have a limited shelf life, and I want to leverage it while I can, just to have that time with the family, because I miss it sometimes when I have to spend 8 hours a day at work and then come home. My son's already asleep. I haven't seen him all day. I don't want that anymore.
Okay, we got to talk off the recording then. That sounds exciting. I'm super excited for you. I'm a smaller YouTuber, but I feel too like stretched with my ideas to be able to concentrate enough. Like I really am impressed by your YouTube channel and your ideas, and then the fact that your thumbnails all have consistency. And the content all has consistency. I've been unable to do that. But yeah, I actually became financially independent thinking that I was going to make it as a YouTuber, which I feel like I have, and I do appreciate all the subs and the views. But I mean, it's definitely not a wage that I can live off of, but it doesn't matter anymore because I'm financially independent. So I just kind of have fun with the channel. Like, I want to do more collabs and speaking to excellent content creators like yourself. So yeah, thanks for joining me today, man.
Anytime, man. I wish you a lot of luck and enjoyment with the channel, and I hope to talk to you soon. Always fun.
All right, thanks, Bitter. And yeah, guys, you could check this out on my channel under the new podcast section that has appeared. I don't know how that works out exactly, but I'll figure it out, and I'll post this podcast there. And perhaps I'll be doing more podcasts in the future with Bitt3rSteel and or other content creators. And this was a lot of fun. I would do this even if we weren't being recorded. So thank you very much, Bitter.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Have a good night or evening or day. I forget what the time difference is, but I'll talk to you later then.
All right. See you on the next one, guys.